Welcome to episode 806 of Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I will be sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the podcast, including the Patreon page and the merchandise store over at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. Also, please check out all the links in every episode description for friends of the show. That would be Jen, the Arcane Observer, that has her own channel and is also the co-host of this show on the weekends. And then Michael Strange, host of Trouble Minds Radio, the show, and also the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear these shows and many other amazing shows on there 24/7. And I think that takes care of all the usual introduction details there, so we can start with the show here. Hopefully the sound is okay because I have a fan on right now. I'm sort of hoping that the fan will either make the fireworks quieter if they do start again. And if nothing else, then maybe even drown them out. So that would be nice. So that's why I have that on right now. But yeah, so looking forward to these stories here. As I always say, it's oh, thank you. Good, I'm glad. In the chat there, Don says the sound is good. Can you hear the fan? Good. These stories, I always find them days or even a week ahead, and then I forget about them until I read them again on the shows. So, speaking of those stories, those true stories here, let's get to the file and get started. This one says, I live in a rural area with a large field behind my house, bordered by woods, a fence, and a creek on the left side. One night, while outside, I heard a strange sound coming from the creek. The sound was similar to that of a toy with a speaker under the water, resembling a doll with dying batteries mixed with a gurgling noise. Some words were almost discernible. As I approached the creek, the noise grew louder and increasingly unsettling. I was confused, as it was impossible for a toy to be in the creek. No known animal makes such a noise. When I shined a torch, that's a flashlight, into the creek, the sound abruptly stopped. I ran back to my house, and the next day I searched the creek for the source, but found nothing. I am still baffled and have no explanation for what caused the noise. So that's the end of that one. That's not only is it creepy, but it is amazing because the shining of the flashlight into the water, having that noise stop when the flashlight hits the water. Of course, it could just be an extreme coincidence, but also it could indicate some kind of intelligence, possibly, or at least a reaction to the light. That's a thing that happens in some paranormal investigations where people will hear things or even see things, and then they'll turn the light on, either a light in a room, or they'll use their flashlights and point it at the direction that they heard a sound from, and it'll be gone. But I don't know if this is some kind of water creature and or I don't know, a spirit in the water. I have no idea, but it seems like they tried to think things through as well as they could there in that story, and the they even looked at the creek the next day. I wonder if they mean when they say that there couldn't be a toy in there. I wonder if that means it's because the water is moving. I don't know, but or maybe it's not deep enough or something, or it's too deep for anything to be. I'm not sure, but either way, it's amazing that the sound stopped when light was focused on the area where it was coming from. So I thought that was a neat one. What it is, I have no idea, but it's there. So there's so many accounts of people hearing or seeing weird things around waterways, and things like that. So that doesn't surprise me much that there will be something happening there. But yeah, so I've had a couple other ones over the years that were really surprising to me. Even to the point where humanoid figures, like I think they were like purple, if I'm remembering right. But someone saw these humanoid figures coming out of and going back into the water, and they had like glowing eyes, and they just kind of watched the person, and then went back under the water again, and they never went back to the area again, which I don't blame them. So there's a lot of accounts of weird experiences surrounding waterways or bodies of water. Moving on to the next one here. Let's see. This one says, I arrived home around 12:30 a.m. on a calm, cool, windless spring night. While walking up the driveway, I heard a sound resembling a bicycle rapidly approaching from behind at around 50 miles per hour. I instinctively recoiled and turned, expecting to see an object coming at me, but saw nothing. There was only silence. The experience caused immediate fear and goosebumps, and I quickly ran to the house. Later, I searched online for similar experiences, but found little information. Has anyone else experienced anything like this? And that's where that one ends. I can't say that I have exactly, but I feel like I've heard of people getting a sense of a presence rushing up toward them. I'm not sure if that always includes the sound of an object moving through air moving toward them or not. But I would wonder too, is that a residual? If nothing else happens, is that some kind of weird residual and they were just in the wrong spot at the wrong time? Or in some cases, unfortunately, is that some force or some being out there trying to cause fear in people, or even just get their attention? There's so many experiences that happen that I wonder, they're frightening to the people that go through them, but are they really meant to be frightening? Or are they just meant to try to get the attention of someone? And it works, but then whatever message the being has doesn't get through, because that's the only thing they were able to manifest, so to speak, when it comes to that. I'm not sure, but I feel like I've heard of similar things before, just not quite exactly to that extreme. But there's always outliers in any kind of experience, as far as how intense it is or how subtle it is, with the bulk of experiences sort of in the middle there, where that's where the pattern is at. But then you have these things that are slightly different in different ways. So, and I think I mentioned this. I forget where I mentioned this the other day. I think I mentioned it on a show the other day. But that's the part of the fun for me, is finding the patterns, and then finding things that seem to be a one-off type of either encounter or a detail about an experience. These things that seem like I've never heard of them before. It's not to say that they haven't been out there, because I haven't, obviously. I have not looked at all the information out there about all paranormal experiences all around the world throughout time. But when I hear about one detail I've never heard of before, it's always amazing if and when I hear about that same kind of detail in another experience, and I start to see a pattern there. And that whole method or process of finding patterns is, to me, really exciting when doing these shows. Because, like I said, I can't process all the information out there, but it's still, I think, good to try to process as much as I can in what time I have, and just put out there whatever comes to mind, and hopefully it'll help someone else in some way. Moving on to the next one here. Let's see. And scroll down a little bit so you can see the whole story. This one is a little bit longer. This one says, my grandpa was very stubborn and only went to the dentist, refusing to see other doctors. He developed sepsis from an untreated leg injury. He kept secret until it was too late, leading to a hospital stay. My family received a call from his nurse saying he was not doing well and likely wouldn't survive the night. We rushed to pick up my grandma and go to the hospital to say our goodbyes. My grandpa held on until we all arrived, then passed away about 15 minutes later at 3:04 a.m. We stayed with him for a couple of hours afterward, sharing funny stories and memories. My grandpa had always struggled to open the back hatch of my grandma's vehicle, even though I had shown him how multiple times. He found it frustrating and called it a pain in the behind, I'll say that. When my dad went to get my grandma's car from the hospital parking lot, the hatch opened as soon as he started the engine. He thought he'd accidentally hit the button on the key fob, so he closed the hatch, but it opened again as he backed out of the parking spot. Sorry. The hatch opened a third time when my dad pulled up to the entrance, despite repeated attempts to close it. I guess that my grandpa finally figured out how to open the hatch after all. That's where that one ends. I wanted to share that because it is a sad beginning, but also it's hilarious because that does seem to add up pretty well with the grandpa sort of not sure how to do something in life or not being able to figure it out, but then as soon as he passes, the object that he was having a hard time with just happens to open several times while everyone is still at the hospital where this person had just unfortunately passed. To me, that's an amazing set of events there. So I thought that was, even though that was a rough start in a way, I thought it was possibly worth it in the end because of the events that happened. So I may need to do a show at some point on some things that happened to other family members. I may have to try to get their permission or if I can to share some things. But there were some things that I won't go into them right now, but that happened with my family. And I think I've shared a few of them on the show before. With my family members after my grandpa passed and then after my grandma passed. So I do wonder about that, how that works, and it's just there's things that happen that you get a sense that it's the person that you think it is. It's not. Sometimes I've read and heard stories of experiences where the people are not sure what is going on. There's things happening, but they don't get a sense of who it is. Not for sure. But then other times you find accounts of experiences where it seems like it's a good possibility, and or it seems even obvious to some people that the things that are happening are because of their loved one that had passed away. So those are always amazing to me. Let's see. Get to the next one here. It's weird how things stack up. Accounts that are similar sort of stack up. But anyway, just a quick thing here. I think I've said this before, but or told the story before. But my after my grandpa passed, we had they used to always be the place where the family would go for their house would be the place where we'd go for all of the summer holidays. So we'd have gatherings over there at their house. And after he passed, there was one of these gatherings. And after it was done, my grandma asked my brother to go around and collect all the cans and bottles that were, not that they were left all over the place on the ground or the floor, but just collect them all into one place and take them to the store and return them. And as he was doing that, she told him that for whatever reason, no one knows, my grandpa would always only take back exactly $22 in returns to the store. Here in Michigan, most things, as far as I'm aware of, have been 10 cents a piece for many years now, as far as bottle or can returns. And so my brother went to the store. He got everything he could find on the property, my grandparents' property, and he took it to the store, and he came back, and of course the total of all the bottles that he was able to find, bottles and cans, he didn't, of course, look to get that exact amount. And he doesn't even believe in a lot of this kind of stuff that we talk about on the show very much. He's not really interested in it. But, of course, the total of the returns was $22 even. So that's just one example of some of the things that happened that were pretty amazing. So, but anyway, I just wanted to put that out there again because I think it's really, those kind of events are amazing because it's not like someone seeing an apparition, but it's still things that connect back to the people that have passed. So, moving back to the file here. This one says, my great uncle recently passed away. I moved into my great uncle's house soon after. At 1:12 a.m., I saw an apparition of my great uncle in the house. The apparition was not initially looking at me, but eventually came closer until I could clearly see his face. I scrambled to turn on a light with my phone, but before I could, my great uncle smiled and then disappeared. The experience left me in shock and trying to process what happened. I wonder why my great uncle appeared to me specifically. He wasn't the nicest person, but was a good man. I wish I would have said goodbye, as I feel like my great uncle smiling at me was his way of saying goodbye to me. And that's where that one ends. As I always say, I don't curate or arrange these accounts. That I post them or I share them on the show as I find them. So, and every so often, similar accounts or similar experiences will line up like that. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that the person there saw this relative of theirs in what was their home. So I wonder. I just looked at the chat and scared myself because using Windows Magnifier for a second, all I saw was can't hear, and I was like, "Uh-oh, is there a problem?" But no, as the previous message. That's always fun. Excuse me. So, but yeah, I wonder if the writer there was right about their great uncle sort of acknowledging them being there, the person being there, maybe even grateful for moving in to help take care of the house, and just wanted to say hello and goodbye. And I'd be curious if anything else ever happened in the house afterward. I can see it going either way. So often there's just this one experience people have with a loved one that has passed, and then there's nothing after that. Other times there's many things. There's one, I haven't shared it yet, so I won't go into the whole details of it, but there's one I just found the other day, and it'll appear on a future show, where this the father of the writer of the post that I found passed away, and after he passed, the doorbell kept going off constantly, and it was several times a day to start with, then eventually it toned down to just the like once a day, once every other day sometimes. But the family never felt threatened or never felt afraid. They felt like it was the father. And it even happened at night until the mom asked out loud for it to stop because she was trying to sleep, and it did. It never happened again at night after that. Anyway, so these things that happen, it's amazing how sometimes it's hard to know who it is and what's causing the events. But other times there's just this feeling or this knowing of who's behind it. I really find that to be a fascinating topic because I think it is really based on energy and that connection that people have with each other. And I can see it going both ways, depending on those connections. So, like when I had the experience with the light turning on in the ceiling fan. I'll just share that story real quick as we're getting near the end of this episode here. So, I my first time ever going on a podcast to talk about my experiences came out several years ago now. Yeah, it's been a little while. And I wanted to play it for my dad and my stepmom. So I brought my old laptop, which was still working then, with me to their house. I was going to stay overnight. And we were sitting in the living room. And as soon as my voice came from my laptop, the light in the ceiling fan turned on. I thought they had turned it on somehow themselves with the remote, but there is no remote for that light or fan. And not only that, the fan would work, but the light had never worked in that fan since my stepmom had been in the house. And it stayed on for several minutes before eventually turning off. And it only came on when my voice came from my laptop. And it worked for a while after that, for like months, I believe. But then eventually it did, the light stopped working again. But I feel like, and my dad thinks maybe as well, possibly, that was my grandma. And that was a message of keep doing this, keep talking about these things. So here we are. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.